the Warbat, giant serpentine kaijus that are introduced in the film Godzilla vs. Kong. With extreme resilience, powerful jaws, and toxic wings, these guys are are something not to be trifled with, unless you're an alpha kaiju. But anyways, and the Skullcrawlers, reptilian-like gremlins that will do anything to quench their insatiable hunger. These guys will do anything to get food, and they are something that should be feared. What is up, everybody? Inferno is back with a new video, and as always, this is the part where I tell you guys to subscribe to the channel. Please do. Thank you to the two people who subscribed thanks to the last video, D-Rex versus V-Rex. You guys really seem to like that video. It's gotten over 79 views within the last 2 days. That's crazy. And anyways, thank you guys a lot. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to show your support. And now let's get back into the video. Starting off with the Warbat. These guys have toxic wings, as I mentioned earlier, and their bottom fangs are similar to that of the Pyara fish, or the vampire fish, which are meant to be used at the old stabby, which is very deadly. These guys are also easily capable of crumpling the Hollow Earth vehicles. I don't remember what they're called. And the Warbats also tank gunfire from them like a champion. And their wings are even shot with those bullets, and they do not even break or snap or burn or anything. So, yeah, their wings are also toxic. They can also be used for suffocating, and they're capable of working in a team with others of their own kind. And they're even capable of taking hits from Kong, being thrown into mountains, and almost able to kill Kong. Which, by the way, in my opinion, the Warbats would have killed Kong if the humans were not there, but plot armor, you know. And next up is the Skullcrawler, and I need to clarify which version, because, you know, there are a lot of versions. And this is the version that Mechagodzilla murked in Godzilla vs. Kong. So, I know what some people are going to say. This thing does not have any feats whatsoever. But because this video was on my mind for a long... This video topic was on my mind for a long time, I decided that the feats from the smaller skull crawlers, such as Ramarak and the juveniles, would be taken into account for this one. Okay, don't judge. However, these things, they take blunt force impacts, or BSP, I think that's what it's called, yeah. No, BFT, blunt force trauma. Like, these guys take BFT like a champion. However, when it comes to sharp stuff, like horns or swords, which, yes, skull crawlers get cut by katanas. They're also very weak to fire. And the way to kill them is by decapitation, turning them inside out, or using fire. Anyways, these guys also tank Kong's blows like a champion. And one even gets its jaw pried open, specifically Ramarak in Kong Skull Island. Ramarak gets its jaw nearly pried open and still keeps on fighting. And it gets its throat slit and keeps on fighting. Like, these guys are crazy. And now let's head into the battle analysis. Starting off with speed. I don't think I have to mention anything. The flying creature is obviously taking speed, and agility is also going to the Warbat. And as for intelligence, none of these two are rather smart, but given the fact that the Warbats can work together as a team, this category goes to the Warbat. Next up, bite force. See, the Skullcrawler's bite is not really meant to crush stuff. It's more meant so to keep things in its mouth. That's basically what these guys' jaws are meant to do. And we can see that because in Kong Skull Island, Kong had to pry a Skullcrawler's jaw off of his arm because he knew that if he pulled back, a ton of his flesh would still be in the Skullcrawler's mouth. These guys also have heat vision, so they know where the thinnest spots are to strike. However, Skullcrawlers are not particularly smart, so this category goes to the Warbat. So, yeah, the reasoning for that is because their brains are not really brainy. They don't really know which spots to go for, and they can't really take advantage of their bite. So this category goes to the Warbat. Yeah. Next up is adaptability. This means which kind of terrain can they adapt to the best. Now, both of these creatures live in hollow earth. However, they can also both live in water, since it was confirmed that the Skullcrawlers do have gills, and it is seen that the Warbats can go underwater in like a comic or something. I don't remember. And as for foresty environments, at least in my opinion, the Warbat does better here because it can fly. Again, the flying aspect. Now, this category goes to the Warbat. And now, there might be a category in which the Skullcrawler might win, and that is physical strength. And this category easily goes to the Skullcrawler, given the fact that the Warbat flies. It most likely has hollow bones, which makes it a lot lighter, while the Skullcrawler is a land-based animal. So, it's much denser. It also has a lot more muscle mass and bones, mostly. And it's also just a lot heavier in general, so this category goes to the Skullcrawler. And durability. Now, this category, in my opinion, is kind of tough, because the Skullcrawlers are very blunt BFT resistant, but in terms of things that do the old stabby, which the Warbat just happens to have something that does good at the old stabby. I am inclined to lean toward the Warbat. However, due to the fact that this thing is just the fact that the Skullcrawler is just so resilient, honestly, it's a tie. So this category, as I mentioned, is a tie. Now, weaponry. The Warbat has toxic wings that can be used for suffocation. It can constrict. It has a powerful jaws that can do the old stabby. And it can fly. So, basically ramming into stuff. The Skullcrawler has very powerful legs, a prehensile tail, prehensile tongue, powerful jaws, or deadly jaws, and yeah. While the Warbat has more, I feel like the Skullcrawler just has the more important weaponry, so this category goes to the Skullcrawler. And now it is time to discuss who is the winner of this fight. The Skullcrawler is walking around, living its life, and then it spots some prey. It leaps towards the prey, but a Warbat suddenly comes up and steals the Skullcrawler's prey. The Skullcrawler, well, being a Skullcrawler, decides to gain revenge on the Warbat, and it strikes the Skullcrawler, gaining the first blow, biting the Warbat's tail and slamming it to the ground. The Warbat engages in combat and bites the neck of the Skullcrawler, not letting go. And the Skullcrawler tries to pry off the Warbat, but to no avail. It then resorts to different tactics, such as rolling on the ground. Yeah, the Skullcrawler rolls on the ground savagely, trying to get the Warbat off of it. It does, and the Warbat tries to get away. But the Skullcrawler is a Skullcrawler, so it of course continues to fight. It leaps at the Warbat, pinning it to the ground, and going ham on it, slashing at it, stomping on it. And then lastly, it bites down on the head of the Warbat. The Warbat is deep in pain. It starts trying to constrict the Skullcrawler. However, with the Skullcrawler's resilience, this has no avail. The Warbat then decides to use its toxic wings to try to suffocate the Skullcrawler. This ends up working somehow, and the Skullcrawler lets go. The Warbat The Warbat flies off to regain its consciousness, to regain its thoughts, I mean. Then it comes back in, using its wings to suffocate it. Whirling and twirling around the Skullcrawler, it starts constricting it, using its wings to suffocate it, while also injecting toxins into the Skullcrawler. The Skullcrawler tries to roll around again, but the Warbat knows better this time. It lets go and starts flying off again. The Skullcrawler, enraged, leaps at the Warbat again and starts slashing and biting its face off. The Warbat bites the head of the Skullcrawler, piercing its eye. This, however, only makes the Skullcrawler even angrier. And this is the last straw. The Skullcrawler bites down on the head. The Warbat tries the same thing again by constricting it, but to no avail. The Skullcrawler keeps on clamping down until the Warbat has no choice but to pull out. It does. The flesh on its face is peeled off, and this is where the Skullcrawler wins. In my opinion, if a fight between these two broke out, the Skullcrawler, in my opinion, would most likely win, due to its sheer resilience, and the Warbat simply does not have the weaponry needed to decapitate it, burn it, or stab it. And the stabbing part, well, those fangs are not nearly long enough. So, in my opinion, the Skullcrawler takes the W. And as always, everybody, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and as always, goodbye.